Hey guys, this is Eric with HustlePaintball.com, and today's video is over the Empire TM-7. The first thing that I absolutely had to do when Ethan asked me to do this video was this. Fun, right? I mean, I'm 28 years old, and as soon as I picked this up, I instantly turned 13, which kind of sparked my curiosity a bit to see exactly what other people think about this. So what we did was, or me and Dash, we went around the office and asked everybody to hold it, and the first urge that they felt, I wanted them to express it. So here it is.
Russell Vallarta, you're not doing anything. All right, here's what I want you to do. Grab this TM-7. Describe to me how this, describe to me how this gun makes you feel without using any words and only using sound effects.
Without words.
Without words.
How it makes me feel.
Yep. Like what is it holding on to it, playing with it, holding on to it, and
I'm gonna have to go on a mission to even describe what I feel right now.
So do it. Show the viewers.
You go down.
Snappy. So that's how it makes you feel, huh?
I think that's how this gun makes me feel. It's just, for what it is. Oh, wrong knob. Oh, wait. It's compact, it's small, it's light. You just feel cool holding it.
And that's almost everybody's opinion in the office about the TM-7. Now, I could stand up here and bore you to death, but I'm not going to do that to you. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull on a table, raise up the camera, get a bird's eye view so you can see exactly what I'm doing as I'm taking it apart, pointing out key features, and showing you how to lube this properly. So let's get to it. Cool, now that we have everything set up, there's a couple things I want to go over with you guys on this marker before I start taking it apart. Starting off with the ASA and regulator. It's basically you screw in your tank here. This is the regulator, drops it down to 200 psi. You have your cool gauge here. And if you ever needed to adjust the operating pressure, you have this Allen key in the front here. Next, you have the selector switch. So, for instance, if I wanted to turn the eyes off, you would hold the trigger down while it's in the safety position. Hold down this button. Red means go. It's kind of weird, but this is single fire. 3-round burst ramping. 3-round burst full auto. Then we turn it back to safety. Hold the button. Turns off. So if you wanted to have the eyes on, you would not pull the trigger while it's in safety. There you go, powered on. This indicates that there is no ball in the breech. Obviously you can hear the solenoid not firing. As I put my finger in the breech, it's detecting a ball. Those are the laser eyes. So this gun will not fire unless there's a ball in the breech. So we turn it back to safety to turn it off. Power off the marker, it's as simple as that. Here are your ball detents, easily accessible. And as soon as we go inside, it'll be a lot easier for you guys to show, or for me to show you how those things screw in. You got the foldable, or not foldable, collapsible stock, I'm sorry. You pull the switch to the side. Oops. You have a couple settings in there, I believe it's 3. 1, 2, and 3. 1 being all the way down, 2 and 3. So it's pretty cool. You can adjust it however you like. Next, moving on is the foldable foregrip. So if you would like to have the CQB style, if you want to have something to hold on to, you can fold this up or down. You have a couple of rails, the very top rail, the side rails for any accessories. As you saw earlier, we had our laser and flashlight combo. And probably one of the neatest features is the battery door. Pull it down, or move it forward towards the marker, and this is your battery. It even has a plus and minus sign, so you can't put it in backwards. The plus side goes towards the rear of the marker. Drop that bad boy in, push it down, slide the door closed. You don't have to worry about messing with grips or any tools or anything like that, so you can actually run with this in your vest or in your pocket and be able to change out your battery fast. Now, if you can see down in here, this is where you actually adjust your velocity. So you would take an Allen key, and there's a couple of holes, and you can actually adjust the velocity right then and there from the very back. Now, if you go clockwise, that lowers your velocity. Counterclockwise, it increases your velocity. All right, so those are the basics of the gun. It's pretty neat, pretty nice package, but let's remove some of the core things or the big things that keep the clamshell together before we start disassembling this. So starting off with the barrel, set that aside. And the feed neck, you push this button here, and this will actually slide forward and into a gap on the rail right here. And when you open the package, the feed neck is not on the gun. We'll grab our 1/8 Allen key to remove this rear sight. Set that aside. And grab our 7/64 Allen key to remove the foregrip. Having fingernails helps with this, by the way, which I don't have. Slides off the front. All right. Now, going back to your while you still have your 7/64 Allen key, you're going to remove these screws. And then you're going to want to grab your 5/64 Allen key and remove these grip screws. So I'm going to start off with these grips here. Flip the marker over. Set that aside. Sweet. Now, the last screw that you'll use with your 5/64 Allen key is this little guy at the bottom. Set those aside. And now, start removing all these other body screws. Cool. Now something to keep in mind, there's these 3 short screws on the very top. Now these other 4 go on the very bottom. So now we have all those loose or taken out. There goes your body half. Set these aside. The door and the battery. can go ahead and remove the grip, or the stock, I'm sorry. Now, for those of you that own a Mini, this will look very familiar. This is essentially the guts of a Mini. You have the ASA, the up tube, or the grip frame tube, the air tube, and then you have the entire bolt assembly. Now, one thing that you will notice, or one thing to keep an eye on, is this spring right here, or this metal tab, this metal U. What that is the tension on the spring, so it keeps the, it keeps the trigger in the forward lock position. And the other thing is that the selector switch, let me get these last few screws out of here. Cool. The selector switch rides right in here. So as you can see, these two metal magnets will ride right up against the circuit board, and that's how it knows which mode that you're in. So if this is forward, when you're going to put it back together, you'll feel it bind up on this selector switch. So just make sure it's down on the very top of that plastic round piece right there. So, moving on, gently lift up the core, or the innards, I guess you can call it. And you have the solenoid connector, this little white connector right there. And after that, you have your circuit board connector. The easiest way that I found to get these wires out of there is take your 5/64 Allen key and take the elbow, or the short piece of the Allen, and kind of go underneath, kind of hook the wires, and gently, rock them back and forth out of the circuit board slot. Like so. And then you will disconnect that. And that kind of feeds in between the circuit board and the body, the bolt engine body. Trying to do this so you guys can see the best way possible. So now that you have your core out, we'll go ahead and set the other half aside. And now we're ready to finally do the maintenance. For all of you Axe and Mini owners, this is going to seem really familiar. But for a new TM-7 owner, there's a couple tricks that you can do that will get you by on the field, at least, if you break paint. One thing is to take a swab and stick it down your feed neck and try to clean out your eyes if you were to break paint, or go through the front of the breech and kind of spin your swab back and forth to try to clean off the face of the eyes. Obviously, you don't want to tear down your gun this far in order to maintain it at the field. It'd be kind of a PETA, especially with all the screws. But if you ever did want to take your circuit board completely off to clean your eyes thoroughly with a microfiber, you would want to remove this screw and this screw, and then it'll come straight off. Be careful not to bend the tabs when you're wiping them clean or anything like that. They are fragile. And also you just want to make sure there's no paint on the circuit board, of course. You don't want any power going through the paint if it were to be, conductive and actually cause power to go where it shouldn't. So, one thing I did want to point out is on the bottom of the ASA, there's 4 holes, or inside the ASA, there's 4 holes. You can do 2 drops of oil inside there to make sure that your regulator stays lubed, so it doesn't have any reg creep or anything like that. No problems at all. It's actually recommended by Key to do a few drops of oil, maybe every 3 weekends, 4 weekends, or every month. Depends on how frequently you play. Now, let's move on to the bolt assembly. Oh, wrong Allen key there, sorry. This is the 1/8 Allen key. You want to remove this bottom screw, which actually has a pin right there where the threads stop. Now that goes into the bottom of the bolt assembly. Now again, if you have fingernails, this will be easier. Which I don't. Here's the entire bolt assembly. Let me see if I can grab the bolt and spring. Awesome, cool. I'm gonna set this aside. Now, one of the most common things that we find, people having problems with, they will put this spring on backwards. One end is smaller than the other. So if you can hear this, hear that nice pop. And even when I switch it around, it doesn't want to snap into place. What this does is as your bolt goes forward, when you shoot it, it'll grab the front, the soft tip, the soft bolt tip here, and it'll actually slow the bolt down, cause you to have inconsistent shots. You'll probably break paint. You just won't have any fun. So make sure, especially if you've gone down this far to take apart your TM-7, to make sure that you don't put this on backwards. You would feel pretty dumb if you would, because then you'd have to remove all of this stuff again. So yes, make sure this snaps into place. Now, moving on to the bolt engine, or the poppet, the inline poppet assembly, what you're going to want to do is remove the velocity cap from the back. Now, there is a spring inside there which holds the poppet. This actually sits inside the poppet, and when you compress this, or when you tighten this in, this actually puts tension on the poppet, holding it forward. A lot of older minis, they didn't have that spring, so when you first aired it up, the air would go directly past the poppet face. It wouldn't be, it wouldn't seal up, and then you would have air going down the barrel, and people would be like, ah, my mini's broken. Now, take your Allen. What you're going to do is push the inside of the skirt, or the skirt of the poppet out, and take your Allen key again, kind of gently push it all the way out. And this is the poppet valve. This is probably the most overlooked, underlubed portion of the marker. Good. Now what you're going to do is take your rag, wipe off this O-ring right here. Now if you lube this improperly, what's going to happen is it's not going to move back and forth freely. Again, inconsistent chrono readings. You're probably going to be cranking down your velocity setting so you can actually reach your field limit. You might even, in some cases, increase your operating pressure, which your gun will be loud. It'll be really kicky. You just won't have any fun. So, grab my handy dandy pathogen grease here. I'm going to show you how to properly lube this. You take a dab of grease. I'm going to try to see if I can get a good shot here. What you're going to do is roll it onto that O-ring. Now, you don't want to put too much on, which is why you roll it on there. You just want to have enough grease on either side of the O-ring. Now, as soon as you pack the grease down on either side of the O-ring, you'll take a dry portion of your finger, get all the excess off there. Now, you'll see your finger, or your fingerprint actually leaves streaks on the skirt of the piston right here. That's good. That's all right. Take this, drop it back into place. And before you push the poppet down, it's a good idea to try to center your spring. What I do is I drop it in there, just like that. I take my Allen key, kind of findangle it into place. And then you actually push the poppet down all the way. Take your velocity adjuster. This O-ring on the back isn't too important. It just seals. It's not a moving part. So you can just kind of, put a little bit of grease on it. Put that back in there. The reason why I'm doing this first is because you wouldn't want to lube the entire bolt assembly and then have to go into the poppet. You'll just get grease all over your hands. Now, moving on to the front of the bolt body, or the bolt engine, you're going to grease these 3 O-rings in the same manner that you did the poppet O-ring. So take enough grease to where there's grease on either side of the O-ring. And remove any excess with your finger, a dry portion of your finger. That looks good. I'll even take some of the excess and kind of go down on the rest of the body here. Put this on your bolt. Good. Now, moving on. This is a moving part right here, so you're going to lube it the same way that you would your poppet. Take some grease, put it on either side of the O-ring. And then take a very small amount, and you'll actually put grease here, here, and here. Again, these are non-moving parts, so they don't have to be super caked with grease. I just like to, give them a nice sheen, so it goes into the valve or the bolt assembly. Really easy. Now, you can, if you wish, put a very light sheen on the bolt face. It will help seal the breech when you're shooting, and even a light sheen on the body where the spring rides. All it's going to do, and of course, if you put too much, all it's going to do is just attract dirt and increase wear. That's why I like to put a light sheen on everything. Cool. Now it's ready to go back inside the bolt housing, or bolt assembly housing. If you haven't noticed already, there's a locator pin right here. And on the valve body, or the bolt assembly body, there's a, let's see if I can get a good shot on it here. There's a square part right here. That goes around the pin, so it actually keeps the bolt assembly upwards and locks it in place. So that sits there. You're going to want to hold the bolt assembly in with your finger. Take that screw. Oops, again, wrong Allen key. Cinch that guy up, and that's the general maintenance, guys. Pretty straightforward, pretty easy to maintain. It's if you break a detent, or if you need to change one out, it is your 5/64 key. You can remove it while on the outside of the marker. All it is, you'll see in your parts kit, you'll have a couple of these plastic detents with a spring behind it. They're really easy to change. You just put that back on there over the spring, tighten it down. Pretty bulletproof detents. I've never seen anybody had to replace these detents at all. But yeah, that's essentially the mini core in its primitive, primitive stage. So let's go ahead, throw this back together. I'll take my time, you do the same, and we'll see how well it does in the efficiency test outside. So we made it outside. We have a Cobra coil set up here because the gauge wouldn't clear the grip frame. So just to show you guys what pressure we're at 45-24. Just enough pressure to get us chrono in here. So get our first pod. Got our cool bipod set up. Get a few shots on here. Chrono this guy. $278, $279, $294. All right, let's put this bad man pajama on full auto. Hopefully my chair doesn't sink in this mud. Yeah, I'm sinking. Anyhow, let's get the ripping. Sorry about that, guys. This TM-7 did a lot better than we expected. So the tank is at right at 576, right where I left off, right where we ran out of paint. So Dash went and grabbed 2 more pots for me. So sorry about that. All right, back to it. Tank's at 190, 185. Now it's starting to show on the bottom of the reg here. 256, 250, 245. Obviously getting really slow. Yeah, 219. That does it. So the count being right here somewhere. Let's go back inside and finish up. So there you have it, guys, the TM-7. Everyone here in the office was blown away by this thing. We were only expecting it to, roughly get around 1,120 shots, and obviously it performed much better than that. So if you're looking for a very efficient, small, compact, tactical milsim-looking marker, the TM-7 is the gun for you. So that being said, guys, if you wanted to pick up this marker or any accessory that we used here in this video, you can pick it up at hustlepaintball.com. If you have any questions, concerns, or suggestions on new videos, email us at videos@hustlepaintball.com. Of course, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, subscribe to our YouTube channel, read our blog, and join us on PB Riot. We'll be talking about, this or anything else paintball related. Anyway, guys, have a good one.